What's going on, legends? Lilith here, and we have a super exciting video for you today. The long-awaited beginning of the Advanced Blight Guide series. Today we'll be taking a look at moonrushing, and more specifically how to do it, where to do it, and the different methods you can use to not only hit the survivor, but do it in the spiciest way imaginable. So before we get too ahead of ourselves, what exactly is a moonrush? So basically, a moonrush similar to the moon dash from the pig or a normal killer's moonwalking is basically just the ability to do something whilst walking backwards. The main difference with Blight's moonrush is that it allows you to not only rush in the opposite direction the survivor expects you to move in, but also allows you a much longer lunge range, as instead of flicking at the edge of an object to curve around it, you can travel around an object and lunge whilst already on the other side of it, giving you so much range the survivors will struggle to escape your hits. And of course, the most important part, it's so much fun to pull off. So let's get started on actually pulling off your first moonrush. It starts off effectively like a hug tech, where you want to approach an object and look down to avoid your primary collision. I want to point out quickly though that 9 times out of 10 you're going to want to use your non-lethal rush before starting a moonrush, as it's very rare you're going to go for a moonrush to reposition versus just trying to get a normal hit. The main difference between a hug tech and a moonrush is your camera manipulation. Blight operates on a direction of velocity modification that happens over time, which in simple terms means that about half a second after you turn in a rush, you'll see the curve update to convert you back into traveling forwards. In a moonrush, we want to take full advantage of this curve. Start by facing the object you want to moonrush and look very slightly in the direction you want to travel, not the direction you want to face. When I say slightly, I mean very slightly, maybe only 5 degrees or so to ensure that the beginning of your rush travels in the correct direction. As soon as you start your rush, you're going to want to flick your camera in the opposite direction that you're traveling in, which allows you to temporarily run backwards, and over the next half second corrects that direction towards the camera angle you're currently facing in, pushing you towards the survivor and landing the absolute spiciest hits. The best way of practicing this is going to be on relatively simple objects such as cars and flat walls like you'd find on pallet gyms. These will give you a good idea of the muscle memory, the kind of timing you need, and allow you to progress to trickier objects like the 𝗧𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵 tiles. It's going to be really hard to pull off at first, but the main issue I see with people failing to pull off a successful moonrush is the angle they're hugging the object at. I'm not kidding, we're talking a few pixels at best. You really want to underplay it more than you'd think. There are also a few different varieties of moonrushing. One that you've probably seen me pull off before is the double back moonrush, which I coined the name of after figuring out the technique to do these consistently. They look really crazy and are definitely tricky to perfect, but the execution is very similar to the original moonrush. Instead of looking maybe 5 degrees towards an object in the direction we want to travel, we're going to roughly half that and make it look almost like we're rushing directly towards an object. Since we are practically in a parallel direction whilst hug teching, when we flick our camera to look in one direction, we only have about half a second to prepare before the direction velocity updates and continues us forwards before we actually reach the end of the object we're flicking around, causing us to rush backwards again and get the spiciest hit you've ever seen. With this one, however, you're going to want to turn your camera back to the opposite way again as soon as you start traveling in the desired double back direction to pull yourself back around the object and curve to hit the survivor. It sounds really complicated and honestly takes a little bit of practice to pull off, but once you get the angle down with the original hug tech, you will start to master it in no time at all. So moonrushing sounds sick, Lilith, but where exactly can I use these? So it's a totally fair point. Typically, you're going to want to find flat objects like we discussed earlier. Any kind of sharp or jagged set of objects is going to cause you to bump into them, which is going to end your rush and outposition you. Anyone that's ever tried to hug tech past that window knows that you'll always curve and get stuck between the frames. However, referencing the direction velocity from earlier in the guide, this only happens if you're traveling towards it. The best way to practice and experience this is to start the moonrush at the wall of the right of the shack pallet. Travel in the direction of the window, but since the half-second velocity update hasn't occurred yet, you'll glide right past it, allowing you to reach the other side in a single rush. This can be super practical to pull off on maps such as Rotten Fields, where the shack is isolated and has nothing to bump into around it. So skills like this are going to be vital in traversing this tile to continue a chase with the survivor. Once you have the fundamentals down, you can start to experiment with all sorts of crazy places to pull this off, so go crazy and land the spiciest flicks imaginable. I really hope this video helped, and I know a lot of people have been wondering for a long time how to pull these off. It is tricky, but feel free to come and hang out with us live on Twitch if you have any further questions, as I'd love to help you guys out. Stay tuned for the next episode in the Advanced Blight Guide series, and don't forget we've recently updated our merch store with loads of new hats, shirts, and all sorts of spicy merch that I'm sure you're going to really enjoy. Stay awesome, legends, and I'll see you guys in the next one.